Welcome back to the channel. Chelsea have a game tonight. A game against Blackburn Rovers in the Carabao Cup. And I'm going to call this a massive game. And I know that might sound laughable, especially for non-Chelsea fans. But this is massive. I've said any game this season in the Carabao Cup, no matter who it's against, is massive. Chelsea need to be treating this competition as our Champions League. We're not in Europe. We barely have a game bar the weekends this season. So when we do, we need to treat it as if it's a European competition and it means a lot more than it regularly does. Now, Blackburn might seem like easy competition, but we had Wimbledon earlier on in this competition and we made hard work of it, believe me. I was there at the weekend against Brentford. Stamford Bridge was arguably the worst atmosphere 100% this season, but for a long time I've seen. It was very strange. There's a weird clientele coming to games at Stamford Bridge at the moment that don't have any interest in starting up an atmosphere. They almost expect to go there and watch the atmosphere. Now, I don't know how we solve that. And unfortunately, with the current ownership, I don't think that problem will ever be solved. And more of those people will come through the doors. So it's important that the fans who are there that like to drum up an atmosphere, like to make their opinions known, continue to do so and probably do more so than they already have. The only thing is, the team need to give them something to do that. But I think it's going to be a bit of a push-pull relationship. The team need to give the fans something to cheer about. The fans need to give the team something to play for, if that makes sense. They need to both buy into each other. This game, though, against Blackburn should be a walk in the park. However, I'm not sure that's going to be the case. I'm not going to focus on Blackburn's team at all. The only players I thought I knew played for them have now left. And we need to focus on Chelsea and Chelsea only for this preview, because that game against Brentford was horrific on and off the pitch. There was arguments with the fans, the atmosphere was dreadful, and the performance was the story of pretty much the last 2 years. We created a few chances, albeit not on target, but we just couldn't score goals. Yes, I think there are more positives to take this season at the moment, but that game against Brentford was a massive step backwards. A massive step backwards. Do not underestimate how bad that game was. Especially after against Arsenal, we thought there might be a slight bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But no, like I said, another train kept on coming. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into the lineup for this evening's game. I think there'll be a few changes, but I still expect a very strong team because we need to take this competition seriously, because it has proven time and time again for multiple different clubs that if you win this competition, it is a massive momentum booster going in to the finale of the season. And who knows how important that could be to Chelsea at the end of this season. So, first up, goalkeeper. I'm going to give him his debut. I don't know anything about him. All I know is that I'm not having Sanchez at the moment. We still need a number one. I want to know how much pressure is on Sanchez. So I want Petrovic to play. Make his debut. Look, there's people on Twitter telling me this is the next best thing. Let's see what happens. Put him in goal. Show us what you're made of. Show us, are you close to a level of challenging Sanchez? Because right now, I think he doesn't have the pressure that he should do. And the fans aren't aware if there is any pressure to be making that call, asking for someone else to play. We're just sort of all in the mindset that Sanchez is number one until we buy someone else. And unfortunately, I'm not sure what level Sanchez can ever get to. Now, moving away from the goalkeeper, because I spend way too much time stressing out about the goalkeepers at Chelsea Football Club and it's never going to get solved. Right back, Reece James. He will return this evening. How long for? I don't know. When Reece plays, I worry he's going to get injured. I'm so concerned every time he plays that I sometimes think, no, let's just keep him down to like 10, 20 minutes as a substitute. But when that happens, I worry then he finds it harder to step up to the level. As the game starts, you can kind of build with it when you're out there on the pitch. And I think that's probably what's going to be best for Reece. And then when he starts to feel tight, exhausted, whatever it is, then come off. Rather than going into a fast-paced game and starting at zero and having to get yourself up there, he can start at zero with everyone else and gradually increase his speed, his pace, the game just kind of increases in intensity as it goes on. They always seem to start very, very quickly, drop off a bit, and then they find their balance. If you come on as a substitute and the game's very intense, it's so hard to step up to that level. Now, centre-backs. I want to see the return of Benoit Badiashile and Axel Disasi as the centre-back pairing. Now, I say return. Actually, at Chelsea, they've never played together, as far as I'm aware. I want to see that return because they used to play together at Monaco. And I think there'd be an understanding between them. I'd like to see it. Benoit Badiashile did nothing but good last season in a season of torments. It was horrific last year to watch at some points, but he was one of the bright, shining lights. So I'd like to see him return. Disasi, for me, defensively, has barely put a foot wrong, and I don't want to see the right-back experiment anymore with him. I don't think he was that bad, but he's a far better centre-back, and I like what he brings to the table. And right now, in terms of the right centre-back position, if Thiago Silva picks up an injury or suddenly drops off, he's the man that's going to be playing there. So look, let's see what that partnership's like. I want to see it. It's two absolute monsters, and they know each other's game. Left back, the biggest change in character that I can remember at Chelsea Football Club for such a long time. Marc Cucurella is a revelation right now. This is exactly what I thought we were going to get when we signed him. He's been brilliant. His intensity, work rate, his determination, the fight that he's showing for the badge. This is brilliant. This wasn't here a couple of weeks ago. And more importantly, I think now he's feeling a bit more comfortable and there's a bit of trust there. The decisions Marc Cucurella is making on the ball are far better than they've been. So look, long may that continue. The only thing I'd say is I don't want to see our main left back now, I'm going to call him that, getting injured. So is there a slight squad rotation there? Potentially. But look, play him there right now. He's playing well. He's in a good vein of form. Let that trust build. Let him learn how the team's playing at the moment. And a game against Blackburn is a good game for any Chelsea player to play in realistically. Moving into the midfield, this is where my mind can't seem to settle. I've changed this so many times. Because it's the League Cup, and because I believe this is the competition where some players who are on the fringes are going to get minutes. Whether we like it or not, rotation's going to happen. And for that reason, in holding midfield, whether this is a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, I'm not quite sure how it's going to look. But you know what it's like with Pochettino. The midfield always seems to be pretty fluid. I think Ugachukwu will get a start tonight. I think he's been good. I've got no real moans about him. I just think there are three players at the moment in central midfield that are probably ahead of Ugachukwu. And when Lavia returns, I don't know if there'll be four ahead of him. But right now, he's never not impressed me. He's not the quickest guy about, but he's calm on the ball. And I see similarities in Ugachukwu's game to a player like John Obi Mikel. So if he's to play tonight, I think that'll mean that Caicedo and Gallagher will partner him in the midfield. Look, I don't know what happened with Enzo. I don't know whether there was an injury, and the child was born. I'm not sure. I don't know where he's at fitness-wise. If he plays tonight, he plays tonight. And I'm not going to complain. I like Enzo Fernandez. I want to see him playing more. I think a player like Enzo needs to play as many games as possible so he learns to understand every single player, because he is going to be the person that Chelsea are feeding the ball to, and then he is meant to be one of the creative sparks. He is going to be having the most links on the pitch in terms of who and where he's passing. He needs to understand everyone's game. So the more games he plays and the more players he plays with, the better. So if Enzo plays tonight, I've got no problems. Conor Gallagher has been Chelsea's best player this season, and Moises Caicedo needs game time. It's as simple as that. I still think he needs to step it up. He's been okay this season. He's not been an absolute world beater that the price tag might suggest, but he needs consistent game time. He's improving. I'm not going to slate him just yet. I think this is the sort of player that I need to give a year minimum to see where he's at. Moving on to the front line, and this has kind of been a bit all over the place as well because of the midfield. And I kept dropping one player in and out, and that player's on the right wing for me tonight. I'm not sure that's exactly where he'll play, but under Poch, he's kind of been deployed in a few different positions, mainly centre mid, out wide, and even up front, and number 10. It's Cole Palmer. You cannot not play Cole Palmer. I want to see him playing in every game. He is the most creative player in this Chelsea team. He is good on the ball. He's got an eye for a pass. His touch, his sharpness is the best in the team. He came from Manchester City, and you can 100% tell that he's come from Manchester City. His touch and his sharpness is a level above anyone else in the Chelsea team right now. And I hope that's infectious, because I think that shows that in training at Manchester City, he's come from a much higher level of training. I think Chelsea's level of training isn't as sharp and isn't as high as what it should be if you're wanting to compete for where we see ourselves being in the Premier League, right? If we want to be a top 7 team, Chelsea's training needs to be upped. And I'm not sure what level that is at right now. And I think Cole Palmer's come in and shown that he's sharper than everyone else. So Manchester City's level is up here, like we all know, but it's so visible now where Chelsea's level is potentially in training. So long may Cole Palmer playing in the team continue. Brilliant player, no doubt in my mind he will be world class. Sooner rather than later, by the way. Moving over to the left, Mudryk's injured. We don't need to talk about Chelsea's injury problems again and again and again, because these players just aren't available. There's no point speaking about these players when they're not fit. Yes, we have so many options to change the front three and make it look fantastic in theory and in best practice. These players are never fit. Mudryk started picking up injury after injury. He's doing more rehabilitation. So for me, left wing is Raheem Sterling. Madueke played against Brentford and is probably in contention to play again this evening. But I don't think he was that good. I thought he was very predictable. But then again, I thought Raheem Sterling was very predictable against Brentford. I thought he missed some absolute great chances. I can't believe he didn't score. I think Raheem might be a little bit put out after the penalty. I really do. I think he was backing himself to be Chelsea's top scorer this season. And that statement consisted of him being our penalty taker as well. Look, that's not the case right now. Poch has kind of gone with an on-the-fence scenario that the players sort out penalties. That doesn't work for me. The manager's got to be the manager and say, look, this player's our penalty taker. He takes it. If he's not playing, you take it. No stupid qualms on the field. It's not needed. Raheem Sterling has to play at left wing for me tonight, because I need to see how much it matters for him to play for Chelsea at the moment, how much he wants to win. And being one of our most experienced players, we need him to contribute in terms of pulling us out of the mud. I need to see Raheem Sterling put in a bit of a fight, because second half, the guy was walking against Brentford. And look, normally that should be enough to get dropped. But right now, I don't know whether the replacements we have for Raheem, who are fit, are good enough. So I'd rather see him play. Also want to make the point that Raheem Sterling's had far better games off the right this season than at any point off the left. On the right, he runs at players more. He's more direct. He's more creative. On the left, he's so bothered about getting it onto his right foot, he often loses possession or just turns around and retains the ball. Gives it to the left back and recycle it. On the right, Raheem Sterling is a far better player. So if there's a swap there, fine. I don't know who plays off the left if Raheem Sterling goes to the right. I'm not sure how that's going to work. We don't know how it's going to look. But I'm just saying, I want to see him in the front three tonight. Striker, I thought about dropping this guy. He's so far off form at the moment, it's a joke. I don't know where his form is. We saw last season at Villarreal that this guy on form got 9 goals in his last 8. To be honest, for Chelsea, it's just not happened. I said a 1 in 3. He's looking more like a 1 in 6, 1 in 10 striker. He's so far off it. But Pochettino's come out and said we got to back him. So I'm going to back him. Tonight against Blackburn Rovers, he has to get on the score sheet. He has to have a better game than he did against Brentford. It's Nico Jackson. If he doesn't perform this evening and the squad have a better game, the team have a better game, and Jackson doesn't perform this evening, it will tell me that he is not a Premier League level player. Confidence or not, the age or not, it's just not going to happen, because there are so many more doubts in my mind now watching him play in person time and time again, I'm not seeing what I saw in pre-season. And that goes for some of the other players as well. Maatsen's been horrific. Every cameo he's had for Chelsea this season has been awful. But then in pre-season, he was really good. So maybe he's just not on the level. When players get going, which they're not at in pre-season, I think it's very tough for some players to find and make that step up. So maybe Maatsen's level was superb for Burnley last season. Is that his level? I'm not sure. Look, Chelsea Football Club have to win this game this evening. It's a must-win. That's my team. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think Chelsea are going to win this evening, like the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. And let me know your score predictions in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.